Lupe Fiasco, Samurai, album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Mr. Lupe Fiasco, a longtime MC, and since the mid-2000s, a guy who, when on, has been one of my favorite MCs of this generation. I mean, he came onto the scene in a time where I personally was kind of over rap. I mean, the bling era it was just so over in my head, and Lupe's first couple of albums, like Food and Liquor and The Cool, were just such a breath of fresh air for me at the time in such a big way. I mean, the production was crisp and jazzy. He had charisma for days. I just thought that the introspective lyrics he was bringing to the table was just so refreshing. And not only that, but not only did he seem to be the sort of hip, left field hip hop dude that I could totally get behind, but also, he had friends in high places. He brought him Jay-Z for his first record. And for a few short years, I felt like I had something to root for again in rap. And I can't remember the last time that I did. And everything was going so well. And I was so excited to see Lupe's future. And yeah, I didn't like it either, and for a while I was truly worried about Lupe's future, but he did sort of cool my jets a little bit. I thought his Food and Liquor Part 2 record, for me, I've always thought that hip-hop sequels kind of suck, but this one was actually pretty decent, and by the time he was putting out Tetsuo and Youth, Lupe was putting out some of my favorite art rap on the scene, some really genuinely groundbreaking abstract stuff. I was all in, but in the last couple of years, I feel like Lupe's ideas have maybe gotten a little bit too big for even him between the Drogas Light and Drogas Wave albums. I mean, there's certainly good material on there, but for me, I felt like Lupe didn't know if he wanted to continue to be this sort of introspective left field hip hop MC or just bring on Ty Dolla $ign for a few more tracks. You can't have both. And I was kind of done. My brain was kind of fried. These Lupe albums were just getting so big. And honestly, I just kind of cooled my jets with him once again. And so much so that when his last music, Drill Music in Zion, came out, I didn't even know it came out. That's how off I was on Lupe at the moment. But, eventually I did listen to it. And I was impressed by the way that he really did strip things back down to the very basics of his style. And the result was, a very short but very concise and consistent record. Easily his most in years. And leading up to this thing, I thought he was teasing it with some great singles as well. And the result is, once again, another very short, sweet, but very consistent and concise record. This album's title track, Samurai, starts it off, and instantly, Lupe's creative streak continues. The beats continue to be super fresh, very jazzy, very dusty. And since it dropped, this has quietly been one of my favorite rap singles of the year, and that really hasn't changed. I love the loose, artsy beat and the sampling that we get here. The martial arts-inspired lyrics are a great touch, and Lupe just continues to sound so refreshed. I mean, for a while, his ideas were getting so big they were almost suffocating, but here, he just, he feels refreshed. He sounds just on top form, super hyped, and much like he did on Drill Music in Zion, he just seems so focused. I really do love mumble rap as well. I love this beat. It's really interesting. It's super bubbly, but it's also really dark. And Lupe sounds fired up once again. I can't stress enough just how urgent he sounds on his records. He just seems like he's had so much to say the last few years, and this is it. This is a happening. It's dark, it's tormented. Lupe's performance is both hushed but really intense as well. And I love just how brutally real this comes out. Palaces, for me, this is one of the best deep cuts here, and a track that's pretty damn mesmerizing. It's so haunted, it's so tortured, it is so dreary. I mean, hearing Lupe on this very stripped down, very piano-driven beat, it comes off really classy. He sounds so passionate in his delivery once again, so emotional. He's really going back and breaking out some of those introspective lyrics that got him on the map so many years ago. And I really love the visual nature of this track, and a lot of the tracks on this record. Also, his singing on the chorus is really nice. And while for the most part this album is pretty short, sweet, concise, consistent, there are a few blips on the radar, but honestly, most of this record is pretty great. Like Cake, for example. Sadly, this track has lessened on me since it dropped as a single. At first, I was super hyped by it, but then I heard the rest of the album, and Lupe is really on not his best form here. I mean, it's not the worst thing here. I mean, his verbose performance in itself is pretty mesmerizing, but the beat here is not nearly as interesting as a lot of the other tracks on this record, and also his singing on this hook is not up to snuff. Yeah, that alone knocked it down quite a peg. And Till Eternity, this album's finale, is, I think, the worst track here. I mean, the drama and the pageantry of this track is really nice. And this beat also is right where it should be. It's jazzy, it's left field, everything is in place, and Lupe honestly kind of craps the bed. His performance on this track is a muddled mess compared to the rest of this album. A lot of it has had him sounding super focused and clear-minded, but here he sounds like he can barely keep up with himself. The pieces are all here, but honestly, it's not the finale for me. But outside of that, while it's very short, criminally short even, this comes off more like an EP half the time, this is one of the more consistent hip-hop projects of the year. Number one, Headband, I mean, this is sharp. This is freaking sharp. This track alone could have been a single. I mean, this beat is just the right blend of cosmic and jazzy and weird. But it's also really soulful, especially this sung hook. Lupe's performances continue to be just as urgent. Not only do they take me back to a much simpler and more introspective time in hip-hop, but it also, it seems right on time. But let me tell you, when Lupe sounds focused, he comes off pretty unstoppable. I really also love Bigfoot. It is dreary. It is super soulful. This track as a whole is very mid-2000s. Lupe's performance on this track is one of his more endearing. It's one of his more somber as well. And lyrically, it's one of the more personal cuts on this record, and that's fine by me because it gets that performance out of him. I'm really impressed by a lot of this record. Not only is it super consistent, but Lupe's heart is really in on this project. And Outside may be my favorite deep cut here. I love once again how incredibly visual this is. It's gloomy, it's introspective, it's haunting. Lupe on this track sounds like a damn enigma. And yeah, once again, it is very personal. Once again, it is very conscious sounding, but these are sounds that have worked for Lupe in the past, and honestly, him taking a step back and kind of stripping things down to the very basics of his music was the best thing he could have done right now, because this thing's great. Like, yeah, I said, it's only 8 tracks and about 30 minutes in length, so it's pretty short, but man, a lot of it is just super refreshing for modern hip-hop. It's jazzy, it's freakish, it's soulful, but it's also really introspective, really personal, really emotional, and incredibly visual as well. I mean, yeah, you can say that from a distance, Lupe didn't do anything wildly new on this record, but man, he took a big step back, and he just sounds on top form right now. I'm feeling a light 8 on this record, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.